Hey there, I'm Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas on the shelves at Dollar Trees everywhere. And while I do really love being able to buy Christmas items for $1.25 to craft and decorate with, I don't always love the colors that the Dollar Tree items come in. And so I like to turn to chalk paint a lot in the winter, but I also like to turn to spray paint for quick and easy wins to make Christmas crafts. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Let's get making. I think these little battery operated lanterns from Dollar Tree are super cute, but they're not quite my style because I don't like super bright colors. So I'm going to update them with spray paint. The first thing I'm going to do is pry off that lid, and I just use this like a flathead screwdriver to kind of just pop it off. There's little tabs there. And then this gets a little tricky with the painter's tape because you want to cover the candle, like all of it, so that it doesn't get covered in spray paint, because you're going to spray paint the outside and the inside of the lantern to cover all of that green or white or red plastic. And so I ended up ripping smaller pieces of painter's tape and then layering them on top of each other, trying to get a nice crisp line where I covered all of the white candle, but I didn't cover any of the green plastic. Part of me thought I was going to be able to like pop the candle out and then put it back in, but I don't think it's possible. You can give it a try, but I couldn't find a way to make it work. So I used painter's tape, and then I just covered obviously the whole candle, especially the top, so that you're not covering the flame with spray paint. Then I just grabbed some Rust-Oleum metallic paint and primer in an oil rubbed bronze finish. And then I just went outside. And like I said, I spray painted the outside of the lanterns, the inside of the lanterns, and I also flipped them upside down to get, because that cutout detail is kind of tricky to spray paint. So it's helpful to spray paint it from all angles so you get complete coverage. Because the last thing you want is colorful plastic poking through. Then once all my spray paint had dried, I took away all of the painter's tape, popped the lid back on. In hindsight, I should have waited a half a second before popping that lid back on because I decided to add some greenery inside the lantern around the candle just for fun. I figure, hey, if it's a battery operated candle, there's no like fire safety issue, so I can put the greenery right next to the candle. And these were just sprigs from the Dollar Tree. They've got a little bit of glitter on them. And then I also embellished the handle. So I just took 2 little pieces of greenery, tied them together with a piece of twine. You could just use plain dollar store twine, but I got this at Michael's this season. And it's got a tiny piece of gold floss running through the twine as well, which I think is super fun for Christmas crafts. Just adds a little bit of extra sparkle. And so I just tied that greenery together, and then I tied the twine to that loop handle on the top of the lantern, and then I tied it with a very simple bow, and that was it. And I love how these dollar store plastic lanterns almost look like real, like heavy duty metal lanterns. So you could make a bunch of these and line them up, or just make a few. The dollar store always sells battery operated candles at Christmas time, and so we're going to give them a pretty glamorous update. Start by just removing that suction cup that comes with the candle, and then grab some painter's tape. Because we'll be spray painting, you want to cover the entire plastic flame at the top of the candle because you don't want any paint getting on that. And so just very carefully use some small pieces of tape and get right into that nook between where the candle flame meets the actual candle, and use your nail or like a sharp edge or something to really press that tape down, and then make sure you get the whole flame covered. And then I grabbed this Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one in a satin finish in Hunt Club Green, and I am loving it for holiday decor. I ended up spraying both the candle and the base. The candle was going to be green, and then the base I just wanted something as a primer because I would be using non-spray paint on the base. So then once everything's covered, you can tear away all of that painter's tape and hopefully you have a nice clean line with the spray paint there. And then I just used a little bit of antique gold rub and buff on my candlestick holders. So like I said, I did spray paint the candlestick holders. You could have used regular spray primer, whatever. I just wanted to make sure that the rub and buff would stick nicely to that shiny plastic. And then I just used a 1/4 inch flat paintbrush, use whatever you like. And I just kind of used a cross between a pouncing and a circular motion until I had really nice coverage all over that candlestick holder. Then pop in your candles, stick the candles into the base, and you've got some super, I think, high-end looking candlesticks for Christmas for not a lot of money. The dollar store sells these little reindeer stands. It's just like a little metal reindeer cutout on a wooden base. And I'm going to turn them into stocking hooks. So I just grabbed my heat gun to start, and I removed that label off the base of the little reindeer, peeled that label away, and then I added a cup hook to the center of that base. And so I started with a nail and a hammer, and I just hammered that nail in maybe a 1/4 of an inch, and that just created a pilot hole so then I could screw my little hook in. And then it's time to paint everything. So I grabbed this Rust-Oleum metallic silver spray paint, and it just wasn't giving the coverage that I originally wanted. So I realized I needed to prime these. So I added black spray primer, and then I went back with the silver. And then because that base isn't solid wood, it's like a cardboard type material, the spray paint didn't cover the edge of that base very nicely. And so we're going to embellish it with some greenery. So I will link to the exact greenery below that I used. I ordered off Amazon in a big coil. But I just started at the back, hot glued one end, and then wrapped the greenery all the way around. I secured it in a couple spots at the front with some more hot glue, and then cut the tail end and secured that in the back with hot glue. So this does two things. One, it's going to cover that kind of unsightly edge around the base, and then it's also just going to add a little bit of fun decor, so this isn't just like a plain boring silver stocking hook. And then I took a little bit more of that greenery and I wrapped it around the neck of the reindeer and twisted it to form a little wreath, and then just secured it in place with a bit of hot glue so it would hang nicely around the reindeer's neck. And then this is kind of lightweight for a stocking hook. So here's my tip when hanging stocking hooks, especially if you have heavy stockings and you're worried that they're going to topple over. I use command strips underneath mine. And so you just take 2 little Velcro pieces, stick one to the bottom of your stocking hook and then the other to your mantle. And then you don't have to worry about things falling down in the middle of the night. But here are my finished little stocking hooks, along with the stockings that I made for my family a couple years ago. Dollar Tree has these little nutcrackers. They're super cute and they come in 5 different styles, but they are way too bright and colorful for my style, so we're going to give them a little update. I just started by ripping off all of like the fake hair off each of the statues. It got a little tricky on a couple of them, so I had to use tweezers to pull all the little fibers out of underneath like the helmet or their little hats, but like the little beards came off really easily. And then I also just used a little bit of sandpaper to sand away any extra little fibers because you don't want them poking out when we paint them because they're going to look super funny. So do your best to get rid of all of that fiber material. And then give everything a quick coat with black spray primer. Our weather has been really nice this fall, so I was able to go outside, which is so exciting, and spray paint outdoors. It's very rare that I do spray painted crafts in the wintertime for this reason. And then I just grabbed some antique gold rub and buff, and I have a little 1/2 inch flat paintbrush. I call it my sacrificial paintbrush that I've just sacrificed to rub and buff. It'll never get clean again, and I only use it with this antique gold rub and buff. I found that I got the best coverage using kind of like a pouncing motion, so I would apply a very little bit. So if you've never used rub and buff, a little goes a very, very, very long way. So I started by using a pouncing motion until my brush got really dry and it felt like there was almost no paint left on it. Then I would use a brushing motion back and forth, and that really got me the weathered, distressed look that I wanted. I did not want complete coverage. I really wanted some of that black spray primer to poke through and have these look very aged and kind of worn, but you can layer on as much or as little of this gold paint as you like. If you want like a more modern look, definitely put on more. But here are my 5 little finished nutcrackers. So cute and so much more my style for Christmas. And here are all 4 of my finished craft projects. I do hope you enjoyed watching these come together. Until next time, happy making.